Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I ask you to remain standing? We all know that 17 years ago, the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil occurred. So if we could, let's observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll, please.
President Dilbert.
Present.
Trustee Pacoli.
Here.
Trustee Madison.
Here.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff. Absent. Trustee Chandler.
Here.
Trustee Hasiak.
Here.
Trustee Pridemore.
Here.
Treasurer Whitsitt. Absent. Clerk Guerrero. Absent. And Attorney Addis.
Here. Approval of agenda. I have one item that I need to add, and it's this, at the end of the night, I have a closed session scheduled. It's going to be really brief. And it's just on some legal updates. I needed to put something in that spot.
You have closed session.
Your time.
I have closed session, but not a reason.
Okay.
Can I also add under new business, just a quick update on Ways and Means?
Yes, please. Thank you. And we'll put that at D. The fire department request is being removed. Any others?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that the agenda be approved as amended. Any questions on the motion?
Just to clarify, the closed session is going to be no action taken.
No action? No. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of minutes, August 14th.
I have one amendment to make to the minutes under the approval of payment of bills. It has roll call, all ayes, but I have in my notes that trustee Pridemore and myself are nays.
Which page is that on?
Page 4, agenda item 8, payment of bills.
I will call you vote. Any other changes?
Motion to approve the council meeting minutes from August 14th as amended.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we approve the minutes as amended. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Second.
The moved and supported that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Pacoli.
Yes.
Trustee Madison.
Yes.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff.
Yes.
Trustee Chandler.
Yes.
Trustee Hasiak.
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore.
Yes.
President Dilbert.
Yes.
Could I ask, sorry, I was noting Trustee Vanderkerkhoff at 7:04. Who made the motion and the second on that?
I made the motion and.
I second it.
Thank you.
Or no, that was a consent.
On the consent agenda?
Sorry. Yep. That's right.
Thank you.
Moving so fast.
We're supposed to have the swearing in of a new firefighter. The assistant chief. He was just here.
Move quickly.
Sorry for the delay, but somebody was still at work. One of them that we want to honor.
Is the new swearing in coming?
Yeah, he was the one that was at work, so he's coming right now. So sorry to make you wait.
So should we move on, or is he here?
Nope, he's here. No, we're good.
In the absence of the clerk and the lady that's taking attendance tonight has never been deputized, I will have to perform the swearing in. Good evening. Now repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Mark Colley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold and support the Constitution
that I will uphold and support the Constitution
and the bylaws of the New Haven Fire Department,
and the bylaws of the New Haven Fire Department,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and that I will fulfill the duties of my office
and that I will fulfill the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No problem.
Not this time.
I just have a couple things I'd like to say about our not new anymore employee. Mark came to us and wanted to volunteer to serve his community. He has a, excuse me. He has a long history of service. He spent his career in the military. He works for the military now and holds a rank that would be a colonel if he was still in the military. He has 3 Bronze Stars. He served in several wars, and we're just proud of him here. So, you're going to make me choke. But he brings a lot of background. And the fact that he wants to serve his community is just overwhelming. We're very proud to have him. He's completed all his medical training, he's part of our medical staff. He's completed all of his medical training, which he paid for himself, didn't cost the village anything. And he's completed all the training requirements for his first year of probation, and now he's a real member of the fire department. We're proud, very proud to have him.
We also have another presentation that's going to be
These 2 gentlemen this evening will be receiving a red and white commendation bar. This red and white commendation bar resembles excellent pre-hospital care. This is what we call a life-saving award. 6 months ago, well, 6 months ago, we had a pretty gruesome medical call. These guys here were able to deliver some outstanding pre-hospital care. That young lady is now home. She's recovering 100%. So today we're here to give them their life-saving awards. Thank you. Not too often that our little village here has these type of incidents, so we're here to recognize their outstanding care. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
I just like to say one thing while we're standing up here in front of the podium. Basically, this represents we were in the right place at the right time. Everybody that works in this department gives 100% to this community when they're here. And the main reason we're getting this is because we were here, we were the first ones to call, but this could have gone to anybody in this department. So it's probably one of the best group of guys you're ever going to have representing this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He forgot to mention one little thing, just a minor thing that I just wanted to bring up. He was also involved in this, he also got an award for the same thing from the Macomb County Medical Control Board. All three of them got this award, but of course he wasn't gonna say that, but I just want you to know he did the same thing. The three of them were, like Bill said, they were in the right spot at the right time, they had the right training, they did the right things, and the outcome was good. It could have been much worse. And unfortunately, the EMS people that were also awarded aren't here. I wish they were, but they're working. So there was 5 people involved in this, and if they hadn't done all the things that they did, there wouldn't have been the outcome. And he was in charge of the scene and did an excellent job, and I just want to make sure he didn't get lost in the shuffle list.
The audit update, Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Oh,
Can I approach? So I'd like to update the board on the audit progress. As I think you're aware, the March 16 audit was issued in July. The March 17 audit is very near completion. We've received drafts. We expect a report issued any day. My guess is within a week. Field work on the March 18 audit is scheduled to begin on September 21st. I can't give you a date certain of completion of the March 18 audit, but I think it's a reasonable expectation to have that issued by the end of the year. In which case, looking back where we started, which was the March 14 audit that was issued roughly December of 16. Once the March 17 audit gets issued, that'll be 4 audits issued in less than 2 years. And if we can get the March 18 audit issued by the end of the year, that'll be 5 audits issued in 2 years. I think you will recall that when we were talking about March 14 and March 15, we talked about some of the difficulties and the slow pace with those audits. And I had indicated that I thought that the pace would pick up. I had every expectation of those audits going quicker, which is actually what's occurred, so I'm very pleased with that. Sandy's done an outstanding job of not only maintaining the day-to-day accounting, but assisting with the audits. And with each year, so Sandy started in, I believe, October of 16. So with each year of audit, she's taken on more and more responsibilities, which I think is what everybody welcomes. So that's pretty much the situation with the audits. Are there any questions?
Just so I'm clear, March 16 audit was submitted in July.
Yeah, it was dated, the audit was dated in July. I don't know the exact date that it was issued, posted to the Treasury website, but the auditor signed it in July.
Okay, March 17 will be submitted.
I'm guessing within a week. The drafts have been issued. We're reviewing those. We're analyzing a few things. I had a discussion with the auditors on Thursday, and I have every expectation of that audit being issued, like I said, within a week.
And the preliminary work on March 18 will begin.
Field work is scheduled for September 21st. So they have September 21st, September 24th, and I think September 25th scheduled for work in the office.
21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
I stand corrected. They will be here over the weekend. No, that's field work. Preliminary work starts beforehand.
Has the scoping changed every year for each year's audit? Been getting fine-tuned, more narrow, or is it still a wide net they're using for scoping every audit, or?
I think it's the same scope. I can't speak for the auditors. I do believe that they are more comfortable with and have a better understanding of the village's internal control system, accounting system, processes, and things like that. And so that speeds it up. And of course, the condition of the records are better with each successive year.
And then fieldwork phase, so fieldwork phase starting September 21st, and you said they'll be on site for 4 days. Roughly how long are we expecting that fieldwork will last for?
Just the field work?
Yeah, just fieldwork.
No long, I don't expect them to be even more than those 4 days.
Just 4 days.
March 17 went just as planned, as far as field work. Sure.
Any other questions? Thanks, John.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple things for discussion. Parks and Rec Board. I'm going to take a hard look at it. I think it needs to be reorganized. I don't think we're focusing on the things that we need to focus on. I don't think there's enough activity that's taking place within the community. There's some members whose attendance isn't very good. There are even 1 or 2 members that I just flat out don't think they want to be there. So I'm going to be taking a look at that board and bringing back some recommendations as to some appointments. The next item is the hall. We did a walkthrough the other day just to see what was next door in the police department. And there's a lot of space over there. This side over here, we're short on space. We just don't have enough storage space. Our file room is it's hard to get anything out of there. And so we took a walk next door to the police department. I didn't realize there was so much available space over there. So we're gonna take over a couple of large rooms that we can secure. And we're gonna start moving some of our older files to those spaces. And then here in the office itself, we're gonna move a few things around. The space that I currently use as an office is way too much space. I feel like I'm alone on the island when I'm back there. That's why I don't go back there too often. I literally hang out with Sandy or Lori or the girls up front. I can talk and interact with them. So there's a small room internally that I'm going to take over as an office, which is probably 1/3 of the current size. The conference room that we typically go to is going to be moved to the space that I currently occupy. So it's more convenient, and when contractors come in, they don't have to walk through the whole building to get back to the conference room. Come out this aisle, and so there's some things that we're looking at. That's not going to cost anything except for probably a Saturday overtime for a couple of DPW workers to move some furniture.
On the police contract, did they say they had to have a substation here? And will this impact the substation?
No, well, I never realized how much space is over there. I honestly, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, I took my first walk over there the other day, and I didn't realize there was so much over there. I mean, it's,
Offices?
yeah, there's a lot of space over there, but there's 2 large rooms that would work perfect for our excessive files and as things start to age, and plus there's a lot of files that we're getting to that point where we can destroy, because we've kept them for that, legal amount of time. So that's just something that's going to take place in the next few weeks. Item F, we have an offer on the Haven Ridge property. And as you can see, so there's no misunderstanding or, the offer was made by my oldest son. If you haven't read the whole. He has shared with me that there's a couple things that he's working on, and that property would fit his need.
There was in the center. Part two. Yes, it was in two parts.
Yeah, I've got both of them. They're not either. You're working with somewhere.
It's in the same PDF file as the meeting minutes.
Get them which packet it came in.
Where are these lots at?
We're on Haven Ridge, south of the cemetery, on the west side of the road.
And what is the zone?
The zone is single family 2. There's two lots, both of them not buildable by themselves.
So they're looking for a lot.
These aren't the ones that needed, one of them didn't need the variance, did it? Because it was two.
No, there's no variance. They're being sold at a pair, and they'll have to be combined. I think one's only 38 feet, and one's something less than that.
Wide, right? 38 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the front.
Is he going to be looking to rezone it?
No, it's property zone for what he wants to do.
And it's a $10,000 purchase price.
Yes.
Good for him. Would we have to do a lot calculation?
Eventually, once he wants to purchase is finalized, then yes, we will come back for it. He will come back for it, not combined.
You said something. This is the entrance. One's
You're right. Yeah, that's prospect. You're right there.
Oh, okay.
And if he gets this lot, he's also talking to this homeowner, he wants to buy that house.
Okay. Gotcha.
Any questions, like I said, and so there's no secret, and he is my eldest, my namesake. So,
Who assessed the property for the $10,000 price?
who assessed it?
Yeah. Who said this property's worth?
The original asking price is 14, 12 or 14. So he's making a $10,000 offer.
We were asking that.
Yes. And like I said, and by themselves, the realtor didn't think, he thought that the original asking price was too high because they're not buildable lots by themselves.
But somebody else other than the village said this is what it's worth.
Yes. Yes, to go to.
So there were 7 apiece?
No, they had to be sold as a pair in order to make them buildable.
But then you have to come back to combine the parcels?
Combined, yes. So like, I think the one lot is only like 38 feet.
What is the land currently zoned?
I'm sorry,
What is the land currently zoned?
I think it's single family too.
We're just scrutinizing you more because
Oh, please do.
Just so you're aware.
I don't mind it at all.
Then we want it out there that we didn't see the price.
Yeah.
No,
It's all on record.
no, please,
Yeah.
please do. Yeah. All right, fly.
Well, I make a motion to accept the bid offer of 10,000 for the 2 lots. Norma, do you need parcel numbers?
God, that's what I put in the motion.
Just say you can rich kid.
On Haven Ridge, south of the cemetery.
Second.
Been properly moved and supported that we accept the offer to purchase the 2 lots on Hayden Ridge, which are owned by the village for a price of $10,000. Any questions on the motion?
I have one comment, and it goes back to a topic I brought up last year about getting the packets out to council earlier. I realize the circumstances this month and what happened, but I gotta be honest, I've not even looked at any of the details of this sale. I didn't have time. I mean, we got the packet on Saturday and that, so, I mean,
And
going forward, if we could possibly go back and getting the package, because this is a pretty lengthy packet this month.
You had mentioned that, I don't know, a few months back that we should have it, I think it was 10 days or something like that.
Our rules and procedures.
Yeah,
require 10 days.
exactly. And I must commend Sandy for pulling this together because she had to pull it all together. I mean, right down to the agenda, right down to finding Mrs. Rodley to do the minutes. So, yes, I fully agree with you that we should have it in, 7 to 10 days prior. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Because I know, because I work with her when I put together the agenda, and I know my agenda is submitted, in a timely manner, because I don't want to be the reason for it being held up. Any other questions? Roll, please.
Trustee Meissen.
Yes.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff.
No.
Trustee Chandler.
Yes.
Trustee Hayesiak.
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore.
Yes,
Trustee Pacoli.
No.
President Dilbert.
Abstain. Motion carried.
Okay, so that would be 4 to 2 in favor.
Solid grant reimbursement. We submitted all the documentation for our last solid grant reimbursement from the state.
Okay, we have one more that we have to do. One little one, like $2,000.
I think right now we're looking at about 118 that we have coming back from the state.
Correct, $118,856.76. And with the new packet, I give you all the documentation of that solid grant that what we had gotten from this $332,000 grant, so.
Any questions on the solid grant? Clark Street update.
Good evening. The council update, as you know, Clark Street has been open since August 31st, and 3 patches have been completed also along Clark Street, Chenault First, and Haven Ridge also completed within a week. So there are barrels, but the road is open, as you know. There are minor punch list items that we're working with the contractor to finish, and final pay requests, and that's pretty much it.
AT&T.
AT&T is one of the items. We're still waiting on them. Actually, they moved the poles completely, but there were a couple of pedestals that are still live, so we need them to relocate those outside of the sidewalk so we can complete those gaps. And I don't have a date yet. They said they're gonna let us know.
I have a question on the patch that was put on in front of Chenault. The west side of the construction area where the new asphalt butts up against the old, there's a lip there. Will that be an issue with plows this winter?
It'll move until it's finally settled. If there's an issue, we'll try to fix it. Once you do a patch, there's no way to get it 100%. But if there's a significant settlement, we'll work with the DPW to try to fix it.
The contractor, our contract with, D&J.
D&J,
What's the warranty on that patch?
standard a year.
So we'll get through at least one winter.
So I have a question. I don't know if I should ask it here or in the payment of bills, but when I look at the payment of bills, I see, and maybe I missed it somehow before, but we have a bill for Paymar for Clark Street at Haven Ridge for an emergency sewer main repair. $15,000.
Yeah,
17 hours.
What's that?
They were out there 17 hours.
17 hours, so what happened? Or unless I missed it, because it happened the day after our council meeting, it looks like.
It was an emergency sanitary sewer break.
Do we know how?
We got down to it and it was the old clay pipe and it was broke and running. Sanitary.
We had sewer separated.
Was that from this?
No.
My question.
No.
Okay.
No, totally separate. Actually, D&J was brought in to rehab the pavement that Paymar worked. Because Paymar contract just fixed the underground. We had to repave after they were done.
Okay. All right, so they weren't causal to each other?
No,
Not at all.
No.
It's a pricey main.
So it's, like I said, we don't have the equipment to go that deep into the ground. And some of these sewers are quite deep.
Question? I noticed that, as of a few days ago, I can't confirm as of today, but as of a few days ago, I was driving by, everything looks nice and everything, but there's a few patches of sidewalk that are not yet.
That's what he was just talking about. We're not, because we're waiting on AT&T to move those green pedestals that are in the sidewalk. So they have to be moved. They have to be moved back to the poles, and then they can put in those sections up there. Yeah. And we've been waiting, they finally moved the poles, but now they gotta move the pedestals next to the poles. And it's only about, 2 or 3 feet, but they are right in the middle of the sidewalk. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Attorney, sewer ordinance.
You guys have been provided, I believe, in your packets with the sewer and water are always combined. The sewer ordinance is done and ready for your action. I believe it was provided. If not, I have paper copies here for everybody if they need them. And it's ready for your action. We believe it's up to date. We believe that it solves any future problems that we might have with people who want to challenge sewer rates based on whatever issues they come up with. So it's ready for action. We're following up with the water portion of it. The sewer needs to be voted on first, and then the next one will be, we'll make the water work well with it in relationship to it, and be no other questions. But I'll answer any questions you have about the sewer ordinance. But we believe it's state of the art, and my guess would be that people will start copying ours after a while.
We have literally tried to address every potential possible question. We created scenarios to see how we could, deal with it, see how this ordinance could stand up to them. I'll say this about Sean Kelly out of Mr. Addison's office. The young man is I think he took this ordinance on vacation with him.
He's a Marine.
But he has done a good job just trying to address all the potential issues that would give us a better standing than if we had ever had the challenge that we just got out of with the parks. This right here could stand that challenge.
I make a motion to approve the Village of New Haven revised sewer rate ordinance number 356.
Support. It's been properly moved and supported that we adopt the sewer ordinance 356. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff?
Yes.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Hasiak?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
Trustee Prokoli, sorry.
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
President Dover?
Yes. Sign ordinance, opinion.
Yeah, so I'll actually speak on this one. This was actually a request from the Planning Commission. It was recently brought to the Planning Commission's attention by our planner, Macomb County Economic Development planner, Jeff Schroeder, that there was a legal ruling in which municipalities cannot have ordinances for signs based off of the content within the sign itself. So that raises into question many of the facets of the sign ordinance as we currently have. But additionally, we were also in the works of revising the sign ordinance as part of the zoning revamp that we're working on. Before we get too far into depth of the rezoning for the sign ordinance or the revamp of the sign ordinance in the Planning Commission, though, Mr. Schroeder was very hesitant to move forward with this without having the legal opinion as far as what really constitutes whether or not we're classifying a part of the ordinance based off of the content of the sign. So to try to put that into context, one that I just thought of prior to the meeting is like the political signage part of the ordinances. Technically, you can't have an ordinance that is specific to it being a political sign. So how do we go about then? Like, what do we do with that? What do we, how do we then have an ordinance, or how do we work with that? What is considered content specific, what is not content specific? And so I would like to, okay, we do have the says discussion / action. I'd like to ask for council approval to have Attorney Edis give us a legal opinion as far as, what we can and cannot do within our sign ordinance when it comes into context of content.
Is that your motion?
I guess, am I able to make that motion, or?
Sure, just a minute though, because I want to ask Mr. Addis to make contact with Judge Schroeder so that you're researching the right thing.
Yeah. Well, here, the difference between the physicality of the sign, its size, its location, is still affected by safety things. You can't put it on the corner so people run into each other. Content, a bunch of cases out of the western federal districts have changed that dramatically. Churches, political message, religious messages, you really can't limit those much anymore. I'm very familiar with the area. I went through it in Macomb Township, and would be more than happy to render an opinion, but I would like to, talk to Jeff with your permission first and see exactly what issue he wants addressed. Would be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also, we had the sign ordinance in draft form, and there was plenty of comments all over it about questioning what is content, what is not content based. So when you talk to Mr. Schroeder, I'm sure he'll be able to hand that over to you as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. Great.
So President Gilbert, is it something that I would make the motion?
You don't need a motion.
Don't need that.
No. He's I've already been directed.
And I don't even get you to charge extra for it, so you're in and we'll do it.
Payment of bills.
I move that we pay the bills for September in the amount of $519,428.74. That amount excludes the $5,000 payment to John Rhinesmith invoiced on August 10th.
Sandy, did we share the D&J?
We did. It was attached to the council packet.
Okay. Because there's another bill that should have brought that total number up to 574,415. D&J's the contractor that did the patchwork. And just so you know, they're one of the, all the jobs we've done around here, they're probably the only one that I'm really happy with. They responded when they said they were going to respond, and they got the job done in 2 or 3 days, and I would really like to establish some sort of relationship with them. And so we did submit their bill, and because we went with D&J instead of the original Tart Street contractor, because the Tart Street contractor, when we held a special meeting, I think I brought you a bid of $32,000. Well, the next day, they tried to jack it by another 10. Okay? And D&J did that patch at Tart and Chanel for, I think, 29.
What was the total amount of those two bills?
The total amount, I think, is 49.
49,987.
I'm sorry.
49,987.
Yeah.
May I speak?
Because that's the 29 for the Clark Street, Chanel, and then it was something less than 20 for the Clark Haven Ridge and Clark First Street patch.
May I speak? Also, too, these invoices were dated September 6th. By the time we get to the next council meeting, they will be late.
Yeah.
That's why we're not on the agenda.
So what's the total amount?
49,987 for D&J.
No,
I'm sorry,
the total payment for bills
with D&J.
with D&J is 574,415.74.
Then I'll amend my motion to $569,415.74.
Hold on just a second. What did you say D&J was?
49,987.
49,987. If you add that to 524, 428, I don't think that's the rate.
The original number was $524,428.74.
Right.
No,
And then I
And
had
then
an
if you-
invoice for $20,600, and I had an invoice for $29,287.
574, or sorry, 524, 428,
74,
74, plus what?
20,600,
Plus,
plus 29,387.
Are we informing our vendors on when they have to have their bills
sorry.
to us to be approved for that month's meeting?
Yes, they had finished their job that day.
What day do they finish?
what was the question?
Are we letting our vendors know when they have to have their invoices here by to get approved for that month?
Yes, yes, they know. He's a new vendor. I would certainly support holding our old vendors' feet to the fire, because we do have some that don't submit them until that Thursday or Friday. Okay, so,
You're good.
574, 415,
74 cents.
74 cents.
Okay. Payment of bills.
There's a motion
There's a
on the
motion
table,
on the table.
and without a second.
I'm sorry.
There's a motion on the table for $569,415.74 without a second.
Wait, what number did you just say now?
He's removing, state your motion.
I move that we pay the bills for September in the amount of $569,415.74, which excludes the $5,000 payment to John Ryan Smith that was invoiced on August 10th, 2018.
Motion failed?
Why are we excluding the money?
Because the motion that was made in August was that they would only be doing the work that we couldn't do in-house, and that documentation was going to be provided to us. And I haven't seen any documentation that he was doing work that we can't do in-house.
Well, he stood here in front of you. You had a perfect opportunity to ask that question.
That's not a question for him, that's a question for you. You provide that information to us.
I'm not going to provide it because I don't do the audits.
You stated twice, on 2 occasions, that all inquiries go to you.
All inquiries do go to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to provide
What is
documentation.
the work?
I am not going to provide
What are you doing?
documentation.
Because it would be irresponsible for us to approve this payment without verifying whether the fact we can do the work in-house or not.
Well, you got Sandy sitting right there. Ask her that question.
I want to see the documentation.
We have Sandy talk.
No, she's not going to talk without, ask her a question.
Where is the documentation that proves that we can't do this work in-house?
In my office.
Could that be provided to council?
It would take me months to get it together. I have emails and all sorts of stuff to come in. What more do you want me to say? I mean, I have paperwork, I have Excel spreadsheets, I have.
The way this is being handled is probably the biggest con job I've seen since sitting in this chair.
That's a bold statement. I do want to just ask this. How many times have you come in to talk to Sandy?
I don't want to hear anything, Trustee Danny Carvajal. I want to see
So
something.
the answer is you have not.
I want to see something.
Bold statements.
This is
require bold responsibility on your
$300,000
part as
of the
well.
people's money,
I
and
know.
you cannot back it up. You can't regurgitate
I
nothing.
shared the same doubt that you did, and
Gentlemen.
I sat down multiple times.
There's a statement that is attached to all the correspondence between Yo and Yo, Mr. Ryan Smith, Ms. Pizzo. And at the bottom of that statement is a legal, it pretty much tells you, do not make hard copies of these documents while the audit is in process.
Then forward me a copy of the email.
Yeah, so that you can go out there and interpret it to your.
You're asking me to vote on something without being able to verify whether the fact that it's being held at the standard that we set as a council.
No. The motion failed for lack of support.
All right,
Motion in order.
I make a motion for the approval of the payment of bills for $574,415.74.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported
Is that right?
that we approve the bills in the amount of $574,415.74. Questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Haziak?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
Trustee Pacoli?
No.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Vanderkirk?
No.
No, sir?
No.
President Dilbert.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, President Dilbert.
Yes.
Thank you.
The agenda items requested to have them in by October 9. I'm sorry, September 28th. The treasury report. The treasurer is reporting village assets in the amount of $3,513,098.22.
I make a motion to receive and file the treasurer's report.
Support.
Been moved and supported that we receive and file the treasury report. Any questions on the motion?
Who was the second of that? Thank
You
you.
can have Brian.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Water and trash ordinance amendment.
I just wanted to give an update
Okay.
that since this ordinance hasn't passed, the sewer ordinance,
You sound louder when you're saying.
since this ordinance has passed for the sewer, we will be, with Mr. Addison's office, we will be going forward with the water and trash ordinance. Our schedule basically said we're trying to, we might make it to October, but water is more involved than the sewer was. We'll probably, our first draft will probably be in November to present to you. And also too, while we're at it, we're going to be looking at the trash ordinance too, to make sure that we're up to speed on that also, and get the wording into like the other two ordinance that we've been working on. So just to let you know that. Thank you.
New business. Rezoning 31071 division. Mr. Mason, I'll let you.
Sure. So 31071 Division Street came through the Planning Commission at our last meeting last week to go from residential office to light industrial. The motion was passed to rezone 31071 Division Street to light industrial. This is the property with the silos running along the railroad tracks. And based off of the recommendation from Jeff Schroeder, our planner, as well as discussion that occurred at the meeting, the commission felt comfortable. I will note it wasn't a unanimous decision, just for the record, but it did pass by majority. I see what this says, discussion action. I actually didn't ask for this to be on the agenda. I'm not sure if there's action that I have to ask for on this.
You're making a recommendation to council. It has to be formally approved by council.
Okay. So then based off of that, then I will be asking, based off of Planning Commission's recommendation to approve of this property 31071 Division Street to be rezoned as light industrial.
Is there any content in our packet, like an actual resolution?
Yes.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
I thought that was what we did.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know that this was,
Yeah, that's the step. It has to come to council for final approval.
You had a meeting at September. Hello. Mr. Mason?
Sorry.
Can I interrupt your conversation?
Go ahead.
Did you have a meeting on September 4th about this?
Yes.
And like an open meeting and go over the results of that meeting? Did you have any input?
We had
A public hearing.
Public hearing?
Yeah, you guys were, yeah, we had 3 people at the public hearing. We did have a few individuals who spoke on behalf of the property owner in support of it. There was, I don't believe there was anybody in attendance that was against it.
And you're satisfied that this will fit into the neighborhood?
I believe so. My personal opinion, based off of the way that the zoning is already set up in the area. On the other side of the railroad tracks along Victoria Street is all light industrial for the most part. There is some residential additionally, but towards the north end by Clark Street. But the property abutting the railroad is, I believe, almost all light industrial.
Okay, so this won't be any spot zoning or?
No, I think it fits in with that area. Especially with the light industrial, the mention was that it allows them to have proper licensing for the business that's taking place for the BMW. I don't want to say it's a dealership, but like a parts or SOP. Sorry, I should know that. Working for GM. But yeah, the property it just fit with the overall zoning of the area, being right up against the railroad. I don't really see that would ever really be capitalized as a residential office. So I did find, am I the one that's actually making the motion then? Or do I need to have somebody else on council make the motion? Okay.
No, you're the liaison.
All right. I make the motion to adopt resolution number 18-0003, Village of New Haven zoning ordinance amendment for for the rezoning of 31071 Division Street from residential office to light industrial.
Second.
Been properly moved and supported that we adopt a resolution supporting the rezoning of the Division Street property from residential office to the light industrial. Any questions on the motion? Questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Haziak?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
Trustee Pacoli?
Yes.
Trustee Myason?
Yes.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff?
Yes.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
President Diller?
Yes. Item B.
Village manager update. So the committee, last month's meeting, the committee had brought forth 4 individuals that we were recommending to interview, and the action from last month's meeting was to go ahead and set up those interviews. Out of the 4 that the committee had, and also I want to give credit to Sandy for helping set up the interviews. Out of the 4, we ended up only having actually 2 candidates. The other 2 candidates had rescinded their interest in the position, either through promotion or finding a different opening somewhere else. So the 2 that we interviewed, Patrick Reagan and Robert Moffett, we had the interviews last week on, that was Thursday. We had one over Skype and one in person. Overall, I think both candidates are very, very strong candidates. But ultimately, the recommendation from the committee would be that we move forward with bringing in Patrick Reagan for an in-person interview in front of council. And then I believe that would be at the next special meeting. So then we would be at that meeting that we would have the action of whether or not to extend the offer.
That would still be open to the public.
Open to the public, right? It would be an open meeting, special meeting, open to the public. And it would be separate from council just because that would definitely take too long to do during a council meeting.
I'm sorry, I missed a part of your statement. Sure. To hold a special meeting?
Special meeting, open to the public.
Yeah.
Would we need to pass an ordinance first and have a village manager before we hire one?
We have an ordinance.
Do we have one already?
Yeah, they had a village manager here in 1995.
Okay.
We have an ordinance. We should probably review the ordinance. I mean,
Yes.
it's 20-some years old, 22 years old. But we have an ordinance.
Just one question that I must raise, and it was brought to my attention, did this board ever approve a motion to hire a manager?
No, that would come when you actually interview the person.
Okay, because, so we're going through the interview process, but we've never really approved the motion to actually hire someone.
So what are you suggesting we do that now?
No, I'm being caught up on all the, make sure we don't get the cart before the horse. Then, that's all.
It's a fair question too. We're going through the motion of spending a lot of time interviewing this the individuals and everything like that. I mean, if we're not going to move forward with any candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the consensus is we should probably do that now, if that's the case, to find out if we are going to go forward with hiring a candidate and move forward, because I personally don't want to waste other people's time.
Right.
And that's why I bring it up.
I'd like to motion that.
Not yet.
Okay.
I need to take a.
I mean, when we first did this, it was a actually, no headshot the ARPA meeting, I think it was throughout the ARPA meeting, the committee.
clarification's sake, because I think I'm overhearing the discussion over there as well. So there's the council did have the vote about whether or not to post the village manager position. The council did have the vote to move forward with interviewing or to establish a committee to pick our top 4 candidates. We had the motion to interview the top 4 candidates. So now we're at the point where we have our top 1 candidate. So now is when I would agree to be appropriate.
Let's not go on what we think we overheard, if I may address for just a minute. Interviews have been held with people, some of whom have dropped out, and I have just one little concern. Did they drop out because there had never been a previous approval? Did they drop out because a budget for this position had not been approved? What are the reasons they dropped out? My fear is that somebody may claim that they've been misled or overled. I'm not saying that occurred. Clearly, there was a vote to interview people. There's nothing wrong with that, and you should do that. On the other hand, it's now come to my attention, and I was not here in 1994 or whatever that was, that this had been previously approved, and I've never been able to review that. And I think a review of that would be wise. Now, you guys can make any motions and votes you want in favor or against that. I'm just going to put this word of caution. I just don't want anybody to come back and say, I wish I'd known this or that. Okay? Do you understand my concern? All right, now you've reached a person that you guys, through seems to be a pretty thorough interview process, and my concern is that if we're going to do the motion now, are some of those past candidates going to say I'm not involved again? Maybe they checked and it had not been approved before. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are they aware, are the candidates who dropped out aware that it had never been approved before? And is that the reason they dropped out?
The 2 candidates that had dropped out had given us reasons that the reason they had dropped out was either they were promoted within the city they worked for.
We have 2 emails.
Yeah.
One was actually given a job in another city.
Right. One
We have
accepted
a
another job.
Okay.
So we can verify that. And the other one was given a promotion.
Yeah.
If a council approves to post an RFP, if a council interviews people, I think the intent to hire is explicit. Do we need the actual phrase, we vote to hire a village manager? I think it's housekeeping, but certainly anybody that read that post would understand that we were looking to hire someone. It's not like we're going, oh yeah, here's that, but oh, we're not going to hire anybody anyway.
It also went through Ways and Means for salary determination.
There's been multiple steps here, and I think the intent was very clear.
My only concern, if I don't raise it first, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's not a candidate who dropped out because he did his research or her research and said, I'm not sure this is properly before the board, which would lead me, if I'm out for a candidate for a job, to maybe go in a different direction. Now, you guys are a governmental board, you have lots of immunities, okay? And so maybe that's not a huge problem. It's a concern I have. I raise it. I work in lots of places that have managers. I work in lots of places that don't. I don't have a political opinion. Other than you have to be really careful that we didn't exclude people or they didn't exclude themselves based on a status that had not been voted upon. That's my specific concern. Other than that, I can't say I won't handle that concern.
Would you recommend that we do housekeeping right now and vote on it?
That's up to you guys. I don't, if you want.
Legally,
Legally,
here's the problem.
it eventually has to be voted upon.
If you raise the concern, then we need advice on how to move forward so that we're comfortable or confident with the decisions that we make. If our attorney says, look, I have a concern, then we need guidance on how to interpret that concern and how to move forward. So if we've done what we thought was our due diligence along this way, and this was never raised months ago,
you guys are
which is a little frustrating, not to mention. But if that's the case, and you raise that concern now, then tell us what we do
All right.
in order to move forward.
Now, before everybody gets hot and bothered, no one had told me that a bunch of people had dropped out. I got told that tonight, okay?
Not a
My
bunch,
concern
2
is-
out of 4.
All right, that's 50%, okay, had dropped out. If you guys believe that they were fully informed of legal status, that they were fully informed of what you intended to do, and you're satisfied with that, hold your vote. If I raise the concern, did anybody suggest to you that they withdrew because they weren't certain that this
No.
village would hire someone?
And also, those were the only 4 we went with.
All right, then move forward as you see fit. If you're convinced of that we're not going to get bit from behind, I got to rely on you guys. I wasn't invited there, and I shouldn't be. And if you're convinced of that, then move appropriately.
Yeah, just to clarify, I mean, I have one of the emails up right now, and I mean, I would, however, at this time, due to a recent promotion and raise with my current employer, I have to respectfully rescind my candidacy for Village New Haven. So, you know, and then the other one was similar. It was very clearly stated in the email that it was due to accepting another job in another city.
Okay.
My initial thoughts on it are, when we put out for an RFP, it's not the same as whether or not we're voting to have that or not, because when you put out an RFP, you're not bound to accept anything.
Right.
But you are when we say we're going to hire a village manager. So there's a difference between the two.
That's my point. There's a difference between asking an interview and a difference between saying we're going to hire someone, and I want to make sure no one got misled in between. And if you're convinced they didn't, then act in either direction appropriately.
I don't think anybody's discounting that. I agree. An RFP is no indication that you're going to move forward with anything. My problem is that this wasn't brought up when we did that, and now we're here at this road. So my point is, if we decide to not do this, are we starting over? And then we put the RFP out, put the applications out?
Oh, no.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking, is somebody
No, you don't have to
can you
start
explain
over.
that?
You don't have to start over. Whether you want to take time to determine, you know, the real pay scale and what you want to offer this guy, or whether it's really now at this point a good idea to have a village manager for, maybe you had one years ago, I'm trying to remember my upbringing in this area, or not, now would be the time to ruminate on that a little bit. You don't have to withdraw anything or start all over.
But we had to tell the one candidate, oh yeah, by the way, we want to think this through.
Well, that goes to my point. Did the other candidates know or not? Now you're saying they did. So your point is well taken. It's one thing to do an RFP. It's another thing to say, we're going to go pave the road. When you do an RFP, you don't have to pave the road. Okay, I'm using an analogy here. Okay? So now you're to a point where you have some candidates, you've been through it. It seems to be a really good, legitimate process to me on the face of it. And now you're to the decision, do you want to change and make a pretty substantial change in how this village operates? If you want to do that tonight, you're the board. If you want to take time, that doesn't mean you go back and reopen. That means that you take time to decide, or you decide tonight. That's up to you. That's the legislative process. But as you pointed out, asking for the RFP and paving the road are two different things. And I don't know any of these individuals. There's no axe to grind here. But this is a decision that has to be made board-wise. Whether you do it tonight, or at a special meeting, or at the next meeting, that's all up to you. I'm making the point. The RFP doesn't mean you have to do it. You have to vote to make this move at some point, which is most legitimate to this board and this village's interest.
Okay. All right. On this particular subject, the motion's in order.
I make a motion that,
Right, is the motion that we are hiring or moving to a village manager?
We are moving to hire.
Council.
a village manager, but we haven't established, and you made a very valid point, pay scale, benefits.
We have the salary range and all that in the RFP, but we don't have it specific to an individual.
So I make a motion that we hire a village manager pending approval of compensation package.
As determined by, well, who's going to finally say, there's a range?
Yeah, well,
Who determines
we had a
Say
ballpark.
President Gilbert?
No, just give me the numbers, because Sandy we've had discussion to see if we can fit it.
Yeah, we mentioned 72,000 and the same healthcare, the same pension contribution. So those numbers have already been established by other bargaining units.
We've been using $100,000 as our package.
That's expensive.
That's what's.
That's
Pay
all
benefits and, we've been using 100,000 as our conversation as far as pay benefits and all the other things.
All right, well, go ahead with your.
Yeah, I
Just
make a
wanna go with that
motion that we hire a village manager pending approval of the compensation package.
Support.
Ask for questions.
It's been probably moved and supported that we move forward with hiring a village manager pending
Compensation, approval of
approval of
compensation.
the compensation package. Questions on the motion?
All right. So here's where I'm going to step in, and you can either rescind or you can keep that motion out on the table. But I'm going to introduce the idea, and this is the only time to do it because of where we're at, to have a special meeting with the public involved as to whether or not this is the way we want to move for the village. So that everybody basically has to be here. So in the sense of, and that's going to be the main topic of the day. And what I would suspect is that you would be able to review that ordinance by that time.
I'd be happy to.
And if there's an addition that we need to make to that ordinance, Attorney Addis would advise at that special meeting. At that special meeting, which I would anticipate would happen in the next couple of weeks, or we can leave candidates out there for a while and let them know. I mean, I've seen processes take up to 3 months. But the intent would be that there would be a special meeting devoted, because as we've just discussed, we would change the charter, not charter, but we change the direction of how the government or how the village municipality is run moving forward. I think you've made a valid point in the sense that we do need to connect the dots. So, but I think you need to put that on the table as its own entity. It does not need to be distracted by payment of bills, etc. It needs to be a discussion that happens, public invited, and whether you make that a hearing or whether you make that I would not make it a workshop. And the reason being is because
We need to be able to take action.
we need to be able to take action, and we need people here, we need butts and seats.
Let me rescind the motion, we'll table it to a special meeting. How's that sound?
We need to have a
Motion to make a special meeting.
Right, we have to.
Well, we don't have
She needs to rescind hers, we'll then need to make a
Yeah, I
motion.
rescinded it.
Mr. President, may really, I want you to consider, and this is why I think this might be wise, and I'm talking legally. Is this a full-time position or a contractual position? Okay, is the person going to be officed here or officed wherever that person may want to be? Must you provide this person an office and help? These are things that why you need, if you're this close and you got good 2 people that you want to choose from, now's the time to do this.
But I would recommend we have the meeting soon. This process is taking extremely long, we've already lost.
What's a good time frame for everybody?
Next week or the week after?
Next week? Next week?
What's a good day?
Wednesday, 6:30. Just throwing it out
Hold on,
there.
hold on. Let me get my calendar.
Boom!
6 o'clock. It's good.
6 o'clock.
Should we sort of decide?
I can't do that. I have another meeting,
Wednesday?
and it starts at,
Thursday.
7, there's no.
Thursday is the David Place, New Haven United, but that's from 5 to 6.
What about Tuesday?
That's early.
I could do Thursday, for sure,
Thursday at 7 p.m.
on the 20th.
Thursday at 7, Dan?
Yeah,
Just give me your supervisor's phone number. Supervisor's phone number.
Well, if we want to do it sooner, we could do Tuesday or Monday of next week too. I mean, I'm open.
Anybody available Tuesday?
Wednesday's the only day I'm not available.
Tuesday's Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Tuesday's Parks and Rec.
We could do Monday.
Parks and,
I'll be in DC.
Tuesday?
Monday.
Monday?
Monday,
He's
I'll be in
in Monday, he's in DC.
I think Thursday was a good day.
Thursday at 7.
It sounded like Thursday was a
Like
good
Thursday at 7?
7?
Yes.
Yeah, you got the Haven place at 6.
No, it's 5
Or 5 to 6.
Yeah, 5 to 6, yeah. 6 o'clock.
unless people can do Tuesday.
No, I just remember.
Parks and Rec.
What time? Oh, Tuesday stuff for you. I need you there.
I'll
We need
do
you
whatever
there.
I gotta do,
No,
but
we need
Tuesday
you
would
there.
be tough if
Thursday,
you wanted to.
6:30.
Thursday, 6:30.
Thursday, 6:30.
Okay.
That's better.
That's better.
Thursday, 6:20.
I'm interested in seeing
All right, so then there's no well, do we need a motion to have that special meeting?
Go ahead and call it.
You can call it?
Yep.
Okay.
Will you have time to review the ordinance by then?
You'll have the copy.
I will make sure I review it by then. Cool. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's probably all right, but I've just, in all honesty, I never knew it existed.
Yeah, I think it's on one page.
Okay. Are we good on that?
Yeah.
Tree removal.
Hello. Good evening. We've had numerous trees out in the cemetery that are starting to get, they're probably 100 years old or more. We had one this regular sunny day, no wind blowing, just boom, fall. So they're trying to hold off and not take down trees as long as we can, but it's getting to the point where we have to remove trees. Went out there and marked out trees, got some quotes, and you should have them in front of you. And we need to get some of these trees removed because when they start damaging stones, we're going to start paying for stones. So, and these are big trees, like widowmakers, literally. You get hit one more and you're done. So I have 3 quotes: TC Tree Service, Gardner and Sons, and Dora Enterprises, E-Rate Tree Service. I'm recommending that, or asking you guys to hire TC Tree Service to do the job. Their price is $9,550. They're under the other 2.
That's a different price than the last time, wasn't it? I thought we were at 12,000 last.
No.
Was it 9,000?
Yeah, I didn't have the quote in front of me, so
Okay.
I gave you a ballpark of around 9.
And also, TC, we have dealt with them before, we dealt with Gardner before, so it's all one of those, big things, so they're all good companies.
All these trees have been determined that they're
They're
dead.
I haven't had, if you want to come out and check them out, they're bad.
Well, no, and the only reason I asked that is because we've already had a resident voice a concern
Yep.
that says, why are you destroying these wonderful trees, blah, blah, blah. And so we want to just make sure we tell them the right reason.
Oh yeah, they're hollowed out, they're crumbling. We've already replaced, along the fence line, when you enter off of Clark Street, tree fell, the house next door crushed their fence, crushed their picnic table. Kids living out there.
Right.
We had to replace it.
We had to replace all that stuff.
Oh, picnic table?
Twice.
And just wanted to.
Twice?
And
Yeah.
Just imagine. if
How many
the
times did that
grandchildren-
tree fall?
It was a big branch. Oh, it's good. Big branch? Now let's just take it
The
out.
funny part about it, well, not the funny part about it, the ones that are falling have leaves on them.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're
So they appear to be,
Yeah.
still alive, but when they fall, they're hollowed out probably 50%.
No, I've seen it.
Yeah, we have a big, the squirrels are loving it over there right now. Squirrels, raccoons, so they're all hollowed out. So it's one of those things that,
There was a branch that fell a few months ago that had to be 2 feet in diameter. And it luckily fell right between 2 rows of grapes.
We have trees with leaves on them. Do we have a pest problem there perhaps?
and it could very well be, because there are a lot of the pines out there, they're diseased, so they just kill off each other. What it is, back in the day, none of us were here, but, around that time, they planted a lot of trees too close, so they're killing each other off. It's like survival of the fittest out there in the cemetery right now.
And there probably are some over 100-year-old trees.
Yeah, they're huge.
Knowing the age of that cemetery, you know.
Yes.
How many are coming down on them from?
It's Kennedy Cemetery, and then there's another one on Pine Street that's in the right of way that has fallen. Boom. Yeah.
I like Gardner and Sons quote, 9 really big trees.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that
it's
too.
Very technical.
Yeah, they have green cranes. Yeah, they have green cranes.
Yeah.
And you can confidently say that every one of these trees is a legitimate safety concern.
Yes. Yes.
I make a motion to approve the quote for tree removal from TC, is it TC?
Yes.
In the amount of $9,500.
Second.
9550.
9,550, sorry.
Second.
And probably moving and supported, that we accept the low bid from TC Tree Service for removal of trees in the cemetery and on Pine Street. And this does come out of cemetery. So
Who's going to be a question?
they're fairly healthy. Question on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
Trustee Burkholey?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Vanderkerkhoff?
Yes.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Haziak?
Yes.
President Dillon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ways and Means update.
I can't open up this.
Okay, just a real quick overview of what happened at the Ways and Means Committee meeting. Since none of the items we discussed will be coming forward to council any sooner than the October meeting, I haven't really finished the minutes yet. What we had was a discussion about the renewal of the contracts for the village accountant / office manager and the DPW supervisor. Ways and Means asked for an amendment on some of the language to include the management's rights clause and also the just termination clause to include the phrase, but not limited to. Ways and Means recommended the standard 3% raise per year for each employee, DPW supervisor, and the village accountant. And I also requested that the village accountant get an additional 1 vacation day per year of the contract. But again, these final contracts won't be coming up until the October meeting for approval, and by then we'll have the amended contracts for your review before then. The fire department came forward, and you guys are going to help me out on this. They were requesting something different. You saw when we got the firefighters today got life-saving awards because they were in the right place at the right time. Assistant Chief Steve, come on up here. If you want to give kind of a nutshell version of what you explained to us.
Sure. Our manpower is dwindling fast. We lost 2 more of our main guys after our ISO rating, which means those are now vacant positions, one being our fire inspector, which is a majority part of why we didn't score as well in that category. He has since left for our full-time position. So what we're looking for is to create what I brought from the Ways and Means was 6 part-time positions. That will help cover the daytime shifts between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That was a very expensive task at $147,000 above and beyond what our current payroll of $95,000 will be. Ways and Means asked me to cut that down, come up with a different scenario, which I will be working on and bring back towards the October meeting. It's just getting real slim. We did last Thursday, we did 7 calls in one day, 102.5 square miles. It's a lot. And that 7 calls, 3 of them were at the same time. We had a break. 3 more went out at the same time. It was very, very hard for us to be able to maintain all that. We did it. It was the chief and I. One of the car accidents we had was a 7-patient accident, corner 26 of Gratiot. It's very hard to try try to wrangle 7 people, and provide medical care for them. So that's what, that will be right back to October meeting.
Now, what was the percentage you cited on how many departments nationwide are paid on call?
Oh, I would say it's a good 80%, 75, 80%. It's up there.
And they're facing the same challenges
Absolutely.
we
It's
are.
not just us. This is a nationwide thing. The Baltimore starting a part-time position. New Haven is the only one that doesn't have any full-time staffing, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's a nationwide problem. We're just trying to get ahead of it and be able to, we're pretty close to dropping our ISO down to 4. We just need a little bit of help.
And I had asked for a Plan B because even though it might not cost $147,000, we would still have to budget for it. We would have to leave that in our budget, and I don't know if we're ready to do that just yet. So I asked him, he could present both plans, and it's up to council to make that decision, but just as a cost-saving measure, we could come up with a plan.
Yeah, that 147 was the absolute max. That was, like I said, 6 days, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It turned out that, we didn't need help because we have a lot of the volunteers home. They're on vacation or something that day, or they're home from work. Well, we don't need part-time because all of us would be around to answer those calls. Yeah, that would be the absolute max. And even then, you're going to cut down on our 95,000 payroll now, because we're not going to be asking the paid-on-call guys to come in for part-time shifts here. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for us to just to keep bringing more people in if we didn't need them.
With Plan A, for the 6 part-time, would that kind of help? I don't want to say guarantee, but would that make the odds a lot better to bring the ISO cert down more?
It will, because that will, part of that part-time position, one of them will be our fire inspector. We will institute a part-time fire inspector. He's going out doing all the inspections on all the buildings, which has to be done on a yearly basis. We have not done any since that our last inspector left, which was January, February, somewhere around in there. We instituted that program, and it was a very short program. We instituted at the end of December, really only lasted 3 months because he left. It's very hard to be able to ask the paid-on-call guys to take this class. The class is coming up in October, and it's Mondays and Tuesdays. During the day, 8 hours a day. Everybody has full-time jobs. It's very hard to ask them to take 8 vacation days to do it for a class. So, yeah, hopefully we can talk some.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And the third item was,
The potential full-time DPW that we pulled back because we're not ready to.
right, there was a request to hire an additional full-time, or to make one part-timer a full-time position. The young man's getting 35 hours, this would be a bump up to 40 hours, but it would also, we would have to provide the health care and the pension contribution, so that's that additional cost. And I had asked for a documentation just to make sure we really do need 5 full-timers in the village, and that's going to be provided to us. So we met, and we didn't vote on anything to present to council because we kept asking for more information. So October meeting, we'll have the information.
Call from the floor. Call from the table.
I have one. I got to attend the planning commission meeting last week, and they pulled out their final draft. Well, it won't be final, it's a living document, but of the development guidebook for New Haven, they hand out to potential businesses and residents. And I just want to say that the work they did on here, I mean, this is sharp. I mean, this is a nice one-stop shop for anyone wanting to come into the village. So I just want to commend them on the work they put in on this. It's a really positive thing, I think, for anyone coming into the village. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that of all the time and effort that they took to put into it.
call from the table. I have one thing, just to update. The street lights have all been replaced. I've had 2 complaints. They're too bright. Too bright. Close the curtains. Okay. The final cost, the original estimate last year was
First one was 45.
45.
Second was 40.
And
And then we're gonna get a $5,000 rebate.
so our final cost will be around $34,000, $35,000. It's one of the few projects that actually comes in.
But we recouped that cost in like 2-3 years. right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. With that, could I get a motion to go into closed session for some
Should we go into
updates?
closed session
And-
at 8:32? Because it'll take you a minute to get the rest of that out.
And we're not going to do any, we're not going to conduct any business afterwards, so just so that Joe knows.
Okay, who is the second on that?
Support.
And probably moving us forward that we go into closed session for some updates.